It's 70 degrees. A beautiful, beautiful day. Got the truck in the driveway now, so that's what we're going to be working on. Gonna rewire that entire fuse panel from yesterday because that did not go as planned. I fixed the blower motor, lost my tail lights, so brake lights and turn signals are still working. But here's kind of what we're looking at. I just left everything dangling down here. I was trying to race the clock last night. I don't know how much filming I'm actually going to get on this, but here's the mess of fuse panel, headlight switch wiring. I tried getting another headlight switch. Nobody had one in stock, so I got to wait on that. Hopefully, I'll be able to slap that all back together. And basically what I'm going to do is bypass these glass fuses. I think, if I remember correctly, the Amazon package just showed up. Let's see. Good old Jeff Bezos. Let's see what we got. Unboxing video, if you will. Alright, came with fuses too, so that's nice. That's what we're going to be putting in instead. I think this should be a little bit better than the glass fuses because these terminals are all messed up. I tried fixing that last year. Did not work. So basically what we're going to do now is run some new connections from all of these leads and bypass as much as I can on this. I still do want to keep the stock switch because I want the pull-out for the dash. But I think I'm going to fuse panel everything off to the side over here. Or here, or here, or here. I don't know yet. We'll figure that out. I'll keep you guys updated as we get going. I'm not going to do a ton of filming on the splicing and cutting of wires. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But we'll power that up and see how this goes. Before we get rolling on this, I gotta draw some stuff up. I don't know what's what, so I got the voltmeter out here. I don't know where the hot leads are, which ones are live, which ones are fused. Obviously it's going to run the bridge from one side of the wiring harness to the other with the fuse in between. I don't know where the main wire for hot is. So we got the voltmeter out. We're going to go through and test a couple of these connections. Hopefully you guys can see there. I'll probably knock you guys over about 1,000,000 times. We'll switch this over for volts and start testing some stuff. See if I got a good ground anywhere. Okay, so this yellow lead is a hot in. That's got constant power outside of the block. Red does not. So let's start there. I'm assuming this is the thickest wire here that I'm hoping is going to be the main feed. So this will tie into the hot side of the fuse panel. I think. When in doubt, just use a knife. Okay, so this should disconnect the switch component. This I gotta test too. I think I might have broken it yesterday. The pin doesn't want to work very well. But this is what we're gonna bypass. Ideally, to replace this switch, but I do need the fuse panel-ish. So, I don't know. I've never done this one before, so we're going to be doing this together, and hopefully we can make sense of it. But I got a pen and some paper, so I know the yellow has 12 volt hot. So I'm just going to map this out. What else we got here? I don't have any voltage on anything else here. Which leads me to believe that, I mean, I know that everything's switched off, but with everything disconnected, the only one that's hot is this yellow lead. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to power that up to the fuse panel. That's a constant 12 volts with the key off. So we're going to start there and start going from there as we progress. So I made a quick little wiring diagram. I got 12 volt hot in that connects to the red wire. That's a constant. And I have a keyed black and green wire that goes into this fuse panel up here. Runs across all these fuses and powers the outputs. And the gray wire stuff is down here, and then I basically pinned out everything on the actual headlight switch, so we can just run spade connectors from this panel up to there, and hopefully this should all work. So I'm going to start cutting some stuff. Hopefully this is right. Time to start cutting. Or do I want to mount this first? How much room do I have? Don't have a ton of room yet. Yeah, we'll just rig it up floating. The red one or the blue one? I'm assuming that's the one I need for my main feed in. Let's find something that'll actually drop onto this fuse panel. I'm gonna regret this and have to extend the wires at some point too, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So we'll do a quick rough version of this for now, and we'll go through and correct some stuff later on if I need to, but like I said, I don't really know if any of this is actually gonna work. But this should be my hot voltage in. I didn't bring any wrenches. I'm an idiot. Well, hopefully this is metric, I assume, from Amazon. I need to find some metric stuff. How about an 8mm? Then we need a ground. I'll tap that into the floor or something, wherever we decide to put this thing. Maybe I'll put it over here. This little kick panel. Up and out of the way, something. So we got hot lead in, I think. Yeah, we got voltage there, so that's good. So that should bridge to the red, which is going to be on a fuse separately. Yellow lead here. Oh, I got constant power to that too. Shit. That's going to be power to here. So what's in this panel I actually have to cut off and go right to the switch. Well, now we're committed. So this will go switch to power. Kind of sketchy for now. Alright, so that hot lead should go 12 volt. Where do I have my yellow? B1. This should go to here, like so. Red is fused. This I will put onto bank 1. Maybe. Let me hook up a ground and make sure I'm getting power on this panel first. Based on layout here, I think the best spot for this is actually going to be right here into the floor. And since I'm not a purist, we're just going to break down a screw or two on here. God, I hate working underneath cars or dashes. This isn't too terrible, but two should do. Kinda, sorta. Really need longer ones, but oh well. I think the only ones I have that are bigger than that are way too long. Well, all that did was go through the shit. Okay. A little excessive, but all I have right now. So we're going with 2 inches right through the firewall. That'll do. Super, super classy. Good enough. We'll replace those with smaller ones at a later point in time. Now, let's pop this off, hook up a ground, make sure we're getting power. And just run one right over to the sheet metal screw. Because why not? Plate ground's okay through the body there. Find out. Washer. Connector. Come on. Another washer. Lock washer, little nut. I did actually get that fuse panel to work proper. The issue I was running into is that yellow to red connector. The fuse that was in there was bad. If I jumpered it and got rid of that fuse, it wasn't broken, but it wasn't working. If I bypassed it, it actually was working. But I've had some taillight issues on this for quite a while. Everything else seemed to be working except the blower motor and the what do you call it? Rear taillights every now and again would flicker on and off. Okay, and in super, super classy fashion, jam one more of these on here for the ground. And this will go right here. And looped it all fancy. Just like that. That'll do. It's up and out of the way enough. Now I got a hot side and a negative. Go from here to here. I should have voltage 12.5, so that's good. I don't know how the light thing on this works. I got here a 15 amp fuse, so here to here 12.5. 10, 11, 12. Alright, so we got 12.5 in, a little bit of a drop down to 11 across these other three. So now, how do I need to do this? Hot feed in, yellow to the switch, maybe. I think I'm going to do these lower connections right into the switch for now first. So I'll keep everything here going straight into the switch. Then if I got to jump extension on each of these, I will. But like I said, I do want to keep the switch up here in the dash. I do want to get rid of that fuse panel though. So I'll run all the hot leads from here directly where they're oriented on the switch first. So let me start cutting wires and lining these up. So here's the headlight switch. Here's all the wires that are attached to it. Went through, put spade connectors on all of them, and routed these to the switch exactly how they were oriented before. So that's essentially this lower section here, all hooked up. So now I get to move on to the fuse panel. Cut myself pretty good, but at least this is done. Now I gotta figure out where all these leads go. A couple of them run bridged to the panel, so I gotta figure that out next. All right, so the switch is working. I just pulled the switch out. The headlight does turn on. I'm still not getting taillight wires. So the issue that I had before was this red wire and the yellow wire that were bridged here. So I have the 12 volt yellow hot wire running over here now. That should be my rear, I believe. So if I jumpered this connection and ran this yellow wire straight to this red wire when it was all hooked up, my taillights would turn on. Right now the headlights are working. Turn signals are still working, which means some of this is still hooked up and functioning properly. Now I'm thinking out loud here just because I'm not exactly positive on what I'm doing. So I got a ground here. We got 12 volts at this panel, so now I got to figure out how to run these. I'm going to bypass these fuses. The only problem is I have a 12 volt hot lead here. This was a separate keyed power, so with the key on, this gets power. With it off, it doesn't. I got to figure out if I can run those in line or not, or how I'm going to power up the rest of the fuse panel with a keyed ignition source as well as a constant. Ideally, I would like to have 2 fuse panels, but I don't want to run that many, so maybe I'll just run them all integral into the keyed power, or just don't know. Let me think on this for a minute and go from there. Alright, so a little bit of testing. Right now I just have the gray wire. I'm not getting taillights because this gray and red wire is my taillight lead. So I need to turn that off right now. I have it just quickly set into the fuse panel with constant power, so my taillights are permanently on. I think what I'm going to do is actually ditch the constant power feed here to the panel and just run the keyed ignition, because this is all the fuses here. My switch already has a direct 12 volt power, so I'm going to undo the yellow wire, the hot lead, get rid of that, cap that one off, and then we're going to run the black and green to this panel, and this will be a keyed fuse panel. So finally kind of got that figured out. Right now, like I said, with this hooked up, taillights are on, with this disconnected, so that's my taillight for running lights. That's the brake light if I remember correctly, but we'll figure that out a little bit later once I test everything. But right now I'm going to work on moving these fuses to this panel. So what we need to do is cut this black and green wire, got the key off because this is keyed. So we're going to cut this wire here. I'm leaving just enough in case I do end up fixing this fuse panel at some point. And then I'm going to run a jumper from here to there with a black wire. So rather than try and stretch that all the way over. So there's that. Should run a red wire so I know it's hot, but oh well, not that big of a deal. So let me get this spliced up and get it connected, and we'll be right back. Okay, so here's the top 2 fuse panels that I got wired up. This is all keyed ignition power. So basically, if I follow these up, I got a brown and an orange, which would have been these 2 up here. And I have a black wire here, which is the last of the ones that I need, that I just wanted to untangle a little bit. It's crusty but connected, and nothing fancy or anything to write home about, but at this juncture I just need this truck working. So then the last little bit will come down here. I shorten this one a hair. Fork style connector. That'll be my 3 main fuses up top. I still got to figure out what's going on with the brake light and the tail light, but one thing at a time for now. I took the fuse panel off just because it's a little bit easier to get everything laid out and set up first. But there we have it. Let me grab some fuses. If I knew what the colors were for all of these, I might be in much better shape. I could tell you what they do, but I didn't even look. All I know is these should work. Blower motor is working. I don't know what the rest of them do. Radio, maybe? No radio. Turn signal. Turn signal. Okay, the radio's hooked up to that. Radio is hooked up to the ignition. Radio's working. Blower only works now. Wipers are still working. Okay, so wipers are also keyed. So everything is keyed power, which is good. That means that whatever these 3 fuses were doing are actually functioning proper. Now this is the only one that I'm getting stuck on is, I think it says instrument lights on there. I'm trying to just read it. Horn is the black wire. which I actually don't think hooks up to anything. Where does this go? I mean, I know I just hooked it up, but I don't know what that hooks up to. This was my horn switch, and I don't remember where this yellow wire for my own gauges went either. Let's see here. Okay, so this is going to the hot feed right there, which is a constant power. And here, oh duh, I don't have a fuse in. Why would it have power if there's no fuse hooked up? This will get keyed as well. Gauge lights are also keyed. So we'll hook that one up. And then the only other one that I'm stuck on, this is the original connection. It says instruments. Ran to this lead here. So one lead goes here, the other one goes up to here. I think I might just jump these two together. Should probably have some sort of fuse panel thing. Let's see. It's so bright out here, I can't really see anything anyway. Gauges are still kind of lighting up, not that I use them anyway. I don't know what I'm doing with that one yet. But essentially it goes from the switch here to a fuse, a little fuse. So we had one lead and then this yellow to red wire. I gotta figure out the bridge there because that needs to get power in line. So this yellow somehow needs to tie into this. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. Bunch of messing around here, but we got the fuse panel laid out as best I can. I don't know what's what, but I got 15 amp fuses there, a 10 amp fuse down here. This green and red wire is bridged here. It's kind of a weird little connection, but it is a fused power source. This is all only functioning on the key switch. So the fuse panel is keyed. This is the constant power in for the headlight switch, which is still working just fine. The only other issue is this yellow lead and this red wire need to connect. That is my actual taillight circuit, which means I need to bridge this to this, because if I do that, the taillights come on. If I don't have it connected, well, then it doesn't work. But the problem is, this is also switched in the actual, that's what the headlight switch is actually turning on and off. So I need to somehow bridge those together. On the old setup, that ran right here through a little fuse. So I think I might have a single connection, a single fuse block somewhere in the garage. I'm going to try and dig that out, and if I can, I'll bridge those two. Then we should be good. It'll be on a separate fused circuit, and we'll go from there. Like I said, I know none of this is the best way to do it, but given the time and my rush of getting this just done in driving, this is the way we're doing it for now. I can address it all later. So let me go look for a little mini fuse and see if I can rig something up. Well, that was an absolute nightmare, but we got it done. Here is the switch, just angling. The only issue I had was this one. This was hooked up over here to the bottom left for the I terminal. So the gray and red was hooked up to I. For whatever reason, these two wires are my taillights, which doesn't really make sense with any of the diagrams I've seen, but that's how it's hooked up. So this I had bridged to the keyed power source. If I couldn't figure it out, I was just going to run the taillights constant on whenever you're driving. But now I at least have them on the switch. So I switched these two posts. I put this one to the, what is that? R, which is where it should be, which was a brown wire. Unless I messed up on my diagram, but I'm fairly certain I did not, based on this diagram. But now I got the gauge lights hooked up, so if I pull this switch out, it's really hard to see because we're right in the sun, but that is now on, now it's off. Same thing on the taillight, everything now is working, and then I had to bridge the red and yellow wires. I did not find a fuse panel. That's fine, I'm just going to run straight power through that. I'll switch it eventually, but for now, that is good to go. So now I'm going to fish this up into the dash, remount the switch, remount this housing. Got one extra lead on here for a fused power from keyed ignition source, but that's pretty much it. I'm going to slap this back together and fire it up and see if I still have enough battery to drive it. This bike is done. Still got to get it off the lift. That's kind of on the goal list for tonight. Truck taillights and stuff are fixed. That was the main priority because it's 70 degrees and beautiful out. Easter Sunday tomorrow. Should also be super nice. And got to start getting these vehicles ready to go. Falcon, I just got to throw a new battery in and bring that one back home. And then on this, now the taillights are kind of working. I'm waiting for a new headlight switch. I think the switch itself, the little pull switch, is bad, which is why I kind of have it semi-jumped right now. I know that's kind of a long-winded, boring video, but that's what I was working on today. Wiring and trying to make things work that weren't originally there, but also keep the pull knob. I could have just run a toggle, but that's not as fun to me. I like having the little pull knob on there. It seems a little bit more fitting, but we'll get this back to the shop at some point. Go ahead, and I gotta pull, I'm trying to think now. This tire's got a slow leak. I don't know if it's a valve stem or what, but that's gonna have to come off. So we'll get this up to the shop, we'll pull that wheel off, pull the tire, double check, figure out where that leak's coming from, we'll spray it down at least. But there we have it. 64 Ford is ready to go, fired up really nice yesterday. I somehow messed up and did not film the van towing this out of the ditch. So that video is coming out first. You'll see parts of that, the clipped versions and everything minus the actual fun part that I didn't have the camera going for. So that's where we're at. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all those other fun things. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Ice cold. See if this friggin' thing will start. Survive the test ride. Firebike's back on the lift, ready to get this thing finished up and done. Gotta wire up the generator and fluids and the regulator. I'm trying to just remember quickly where I left off. It's been a minute since I've touched this thing. Points. We don't have any points underneath that point plate. So, ready to go. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things. This bike will be next. Hopefully try and get this dialed at some point this week. Been too busy at the shop to play around on personal stuff because this doesn't, well, this makes me money, but this doesn't make me nearly as much money as the actual customer work. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.